The Amber Heard and Johnny Depp case continues, but what does it mean for our culture when justice and people's private lives become entertainment? Hello there, you 5.5 million awakening wonders joining us on a voyage to inner and outer light. The conversation continues. We're talking today about the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial, which some of you will be watching, and others of you will have identified as a mad distraction. But Johnny Depp's been a figure in our lives for a long, long while. This is Edward Scissorhands. This is Captain Jack Sparrow. It's a complex case that involves potential domestic abuse, addiction, important issues that mean a lot to many of us individually and all of us collectively and as a culture. So is this a sort of phatic, ersatz pop culture distraction, or is this an opportunity for us to access personal and social meaning through mythology? Let's have a look at how this case is being reported. Now, if you're not a subscriber yet, subscribe right now. Turn on that notification bell because I need you to know when we release videos in order that you can watch it. Keep up with us in the comments below because your opinions are how we form the content on this channel. Let's see what's going on with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard in a case that's ultimately pretty painful and weirdly salacious.
Johnny Depp claims his career has been devastated by the allegations of his former wife, the actress Amber Heard, that she was a victim of domestic abuse during their marriage.
I suppose when there's a trial around domestic abuse, it's necessary to say that domestic abuse is a really serious and awful problem. Violence within a domestic setting, family violence, abuse. Those of you that have experience of that won't need to be told how serious it is. And I think so many of us are carrying unaddressed trauma. But when something like this happens on a public scale, we're all affected by it intimately and emotionally, and it becomes an opportunity for us to catharsize our own feelings. Some people have very strong views about like Johnny Depp, like saying, oh God, I mean, if he did these things, then he's a criminal and he's a monster. And some people have very strong views about Amber Heard. Oh, she's rousing up and riling up these opinions. She's a gold digger. Now, what I would invite you to look at is why it has the impact on you that it's having. You as an individual, you within your own mind, within your own heart. Then we can look at how it plays out in the culture simultaneously. Why are certain tropes and tracts so resonant and impactful?
Good morning, Mr. Depp.
Good morning.
Having already lost one libel trial in London in 2020, the actor is now suing Miss Heard for $50 million over an opinion piece she wrote in the Washington Post in 2018.
Like, you know, I used to be in Hollywood. I met Johnny Depp one time, I met Amber Heard one time. I don't know either of these people very well at all. What I know, though, about the culture of celebrity is people, when they go to court, they'll be advised on how to look and what to wear and how they're being continually observed. Doesn't it seem weird to you that justice, which is a sort of sacred idea, because what justice suggests is there is something that is objectively and actually right. Like that there is something that you can say, well, that's right, that's wrong. If you look at justice in myth, like King Solomon and the sword of Damocles, the idea that wisdom can lead you to justice, that there is a right thing to do. The Maharishi says, do what you know to be right. Don't do what you know to be wrong. Think about your own life. That takes care of about 99% of everything. There's this small marginal area where you don't know what's right. This case is in that area. Because if Johnny Depp is a violent person, that's bad. If Amber Heard is lying, that's bad. But have you ever been in a relationship? Do you know how complicated it gets in there when you're like with a person that you love or that you used to love, and how baffling and how difficult it gets, and the places that you go to, and the fact that you know that you're not perfect and it's impossible to be perfect, and you love someone and hate someone. Imagine having that played out on this kind of scale, because ultimately Johnny Depp is just some bloke who's good at acting, and when you put a camera on him, it's sort of exciting and interesting. Similarly with Amber Heard, just a person, just a human being that's found themselves in a particular situation. I always try, when thinking about stuff like this, to acknowledge my own fallibility and acknowledge my own sort of tendency and desire to sort of judge them, my own sort of thirst for simplicity. Well, she must be this or he must be this. It's weird, isn't it, that we want things to be simple, that we don't like complexity. But here complexity is. And living in this sort of cellular, atomized culture where many of us live in cities, where many of us don't know our neighbours, the appeal of this drama, of this new mythic drama that we can all access, heroes, villains, gods, goddesses, presented to us in this new form, all those ancient emotions come out.
It just went.
He claims was about her allegations during their relationship. all broadcast, of course, on live TV.
I think it's mental that court is on telly anyway, but then when the thing that's in court is actual movie stars, you're like, well, this guy's good at being in court, isn't he? Well, yeah, he's been on telly since he's like 19 years old. I'm not suggesting that Johnny Depp is in any way performing. I'm saying that the idea of spectacle, that turning justice and people's private life into spectacle is extraordinary, because all of you have had relationships, all of you have had your heart broken, all of you have done things in relationships that you regret and had things done to you in relationships that you regret, hopefully outside the realm of criminality. But nonetheless, it's difficult to imagine that turned into entertainment. What are the real values of our culture? It's difficult to turn away, isn't it? If you hear Johnny Depp saying someone's done a shit on his bed, it's very difficult. I'm not interested in that. Just talk to me only about Ukraine war.
She claims he was physically abusive to her, shoving, slapping, headbutting during their relationship, all fueled by his alcohol and drug addictions.
Of course, I'm a person that suffered from alcohol and drug addiction, and one day at a time, thanks to other people's support, I don't drink or take drugs anymore. So we're dealing with like mental health, we're dealing potentially with domestic violence, we're dealing with untrue allegations. What a mad stew of complex ideas we're dealing with. What an unfortunate cultural melee we've found ourselves in, where we're unable to determine what's right and what's wrong. Like Amber Heard is a woman. I don't like the idea that women aren't treated well. Johnny Depp's a really cool, lovely bloke. I don't like the idea that that's how it is. What an unfortunate thing. Sometimes what I do is I think, what do I actually want the outcome to be? I sort of want that Johnny Depp's not done anything wrong, don't you? Because I kind of personally like Johnny Depp, and I was thinking, oh no, I don't want Johnny Depp to have done things that are wrong. That's why I look at another pop cultural story recently where Will Smith slapped Chris Rock on the face. Oh no, I like Will Smith and I like Chris Rock. Oh, I don't want this to have happened. This is a mess. Similarly, in this situation,
It didn't happen. I've never struck Miss Heard. I've never struck a woman in my life.
it's a good reminder as well, isn't it, that celebrity is not the answer to your problems. You know, like most kids these days want to grow up famous. Then I'll grow up famous, and then I'll be a big star, and then I'll be in a pirate movie, and then I'll get terrible addiction issues, and then I'll have my private life play out in a court on TV, and I'll be humiliated. You know, celebrity is not the answer. Participating in the spectacle, whether through movies or your trial being televised, is clearly not the answer to deep spiritual problems of connection, oneness, unity, meaning, purpose. All these ideas cannot be met through the sugary, saccharine, fast-paced, hollow carousel of contemporary celebrity.
Unlike the London case he lost against the Sun newspaper for labelling him a wife-beater, this is a trial with a jury, which means Mr. Depp gets to appear for the first time in person, slick, and he hopes persuasive.
This is a good opportunity for looking at mainstream media. The use of the word slick, that's a choice. Slick suggests manipulative, oil slick. Think of the connotations that come up for the word slick. So, and he hopes persuasive. So there's certainly a judgment in the editorial here. What we're trying to do on this channel is allow you to make your judgment or participate in your judgment with you or recognise the futility even of making a judgment. Because it's all just life, isn't it? Johnny Depp is a human being. Amber Heard is a human being. Human beings make mistakes. What moral framework are we going to operate within so that we can deal with the fact that human beings aren't perfect? Is it that we're going to sort of all pretend that we're individually perfect and then just wait for someone else to make a mistake? Aha! Mistake! And luckily you're a person I didn't like anyway. Or are we going to work at ourselves as individuals and our cultures? If this is our culture, then none of us have got a moral promontory or pulpit from which to condemn anybody, because the whole thing is disgusting.
In court, he described how their love blossomed after meeting on a film set, but soon the arguments began, and Miss Heard, he claims, grew obsessive, jealous and angry.
She has a need for conflict. She has a need for violence.
Oh, it's really horrible, isn't it? Imagine being in court. Oh, God, what a revolting, disgusting, horrible mess everybody's in. To sort of sit there with someone that you once loved, just looking at each other. Oh, God, this now. So you've got to sit here. All these moments when you sort of stare into each other's eyes, telling each other that you love one another and it's forever, and you feel like you've escaped the mundanity of reality. And now this gargantuan, grotesque masquerade, this horrible inflation, this helium-filled nightmare that they're forced to occupy, and that we're all jumping in there with them because we've not processed our own dramas, have we? Our own heartbreak. So something like this becomes gripping and magnetizing. Here's my little tip for you. Get to a point that you can just look at this and feel nothing, absolutely nothing at all would be ideal, but nothing but sympathy for the human beings involved, sympathy for us all, hope that we can together find ways to deal with the complexity that occurs in relationships, in any system, in any individual's mind. What are we going to do to improve this? That's what I feel like when I watch this, a kind of a sort of icky, sickly sadness, as if I've just lived on melted ice cream for a year. I just feel...
In one contested incident, a row erupted at their home, and Mr. Depp claims Miss Heard threw a vodka bottle at him, slicing the top of his finger off.
Still want to be famous? Oh God, it's awful. I'm sorry, I feel bad for showing you it. Were you trying to avoid it? Don't show us this, Russell. We've got stuff going on in our own lives.
And that green dot on his face is where Mr. Depp alleges his ex-wife stubbed a cigarette out on his cheek.
On this channel, what we're talking about is how you could change the world so that you as an individual would feel more purposeful, more meaningful, more appreciated and valued, and so that you could exist in a culture that's a reflection of your higher values, rather than a culture that continually mires you in fear and desire. That's what I contest our culture currently does. It stimulates fear, it stimulates desire. I'm speaking personally. I've spent a lot of my life in fear and desire, that I thought I would solve my personal problems by becoming famous, being around famous people, being immersed in celebrity and fame. And I did that for a long time. And I can tell you now, live on YouTube and Rumble, that it didn't work for me very well at all. It left me feeling bereft and hollow and empty. So for me, there is a kind of a personal reaction to this. I'm not condemning any of the people that I was around during that time. I'm saying for me personally. And I feel very sad for the individuals involved in this and for a culture that believes in this, that one of the pinnacles, one of the peaks that we're all trying to clamber towards is this one. Look at it really. And this is just, we're getting a glimpse into this because of a legal matter, because of an unfortunate, messy legal matter. Let me tell you from personal experience, that kind of unhappiness is instantiated and realised throughout that world. People are just alone behind those walls, alone behind those gates, alone in those mansions. I'd like to be alone in a mansion. Yeah, I'm sure you would if you're poor. I've been that as well, and that's not fun either. What I'm saying is perhaps individually and culturally, what's on trial really here are our values. Of course, there is a trial around how people behave to one another and certain ideas around personal safety and things that are obvious to anyone. But what's really on trial is, what do we approve of? What do we aspire to? What do we need? What do we want? What are we heading towards? What has led us here? Of course, there are things on display that are part of the human condition, the complexity of relationships, the aspiring Icarus-like after bright lights that will burn you. But more deeply, I would argue, is a vision of a culture that has really lost its way. That when people in the most reified of positions stand before you broken, this is a time to question your values and your own aspirations, your own meaning, your own heart, and your own conduct.
But there's no doubting their relationship was volatile, as this video of Mr. Depp that was secretly filmed by Miss Heard in 2013 shows. Him slamming doors and then pouring wine for breakfast before stopping the recording. Have you drunk
this whole thing this morning?
Do you ever ponder the media's role in all of this the last couple of years? Firstly, we're fixated on the complexity and ugliness of the pandemic, then the war in Ukraine. Now we're a bit bored of that. Now Johnny Depp. And I recognise that we are literally talking to you right now about it. And let me tell you, I'm not claiming any moral supremacy here. I'm merely asking, what is it that is unaddressed in us, that we continually return to the wound and continually look for a simple argument? The pandemic, either you're pro-mask or pro-vaccine or you're anti-anti. Oh, Ukraine, well, either you're against Russia or you're... Oh, Johnny Depp, either you're... Like, we're continually trying to sort of magnetise like iron filings round a metal mind to some kind of certainty that just isn't there. The only certainty really is that we should open-heartedly approach one another and ourselves with compassion. Be certain that our own thoughts on occasion can't be trusted, that we can't race to condemnation without arriving at perdition. We have to become awakened to ourselves. We have to recognise that when we talk about changing society, it's a pretty big change that we're asking for. It's not like minute little shifts. Our whole value system has to be reviewed and looked at. This is the first time I've looked at any of that trial. This is the first time I've looked at it because I don't like looking at things like that because it makes me feel sick and unwell. And I think it's supposed to. I think it's supposed to make you sick and unwell. Oh God, this pandemic, what are we going to do? Oh God, war in Ukraine. Oh God, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. I would say to you, please, by God, watch our channel, subscribe to our channel, but alongside a healthy dose of a lot of other stuff, nature, time with other people, helping one another, turning away, turn off your phone. Don't sleep with it by your bed. Get it in another room altogether. Turn it off for 8 hours a day. We need a new set of values, individually and collectively. And guess what? We all need different things. So that's going to be complicated, isn't it? That's going to require more democracy, not less. Less hegemony, not more. Less prejudice and bigotry, not more. More willingness to hear other people's views. More willingness to accept other people's fallibility. No wonder we are suffering when we have cast God aside and replaced God with this mess.
Mr. Depp is hoping the trial will restore his once glittering career. His ex-wife's lawyers will next cross-examine the actor, and she too is expected to take the stand. The trial is set to last 6 weeks.
6 more weeks? This is like a World Cup of heartbreak. We used to have war in Ukraine. Before that was pandemic. Now we've got 6 weeks of watching Johnny Depp and Amber Heard just be picked apart and pulled apart, and their romance just turned into a mess. Do you remember it was just funny? Some dogs were taken to Australia in a plane. Ha 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 ha. Well, now look at it. Their whole lives just turned into entertainment as Depp is bound like Prometheus having his guts pecked out for eternity by a media that doesn't care. That doesn't care about you either, that wants you dumb, spellbound and distracted. But that's just what I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. How do you feel about stuff like this? Do you think we should even be covering these kind of things? You a subscriber yet? Subscribe right now. Only 50% of you subscribe, and not enough of you have turned on your notification bell, which I now know is very, very important. Get that bell turned on. I'll tell you why if you subscribe to my mailing list right there. If you enjoyed this video, have a look at this one or this one. They're both good, but more important than any of that is please stay free.